Tyla, which might be controversial to say because she is kind of universally disliked online outside of her core fan base for numerous reasons.
She had the entire world at her feet. A viral smash hit, magazine covers, and the kind of Grammy buzz most new artists can only dream of. In 2023, the world was introduced to South African singer Tyla, and everyone hailed her as the next global pop princess. Her song Water absolutely flooded the charts, but the wave she was riding on just didn't last. Somewhere between all the performances and some seriously awkward interviews, things started to shift. Tyla's career is becoming a cautionary tale of what happens when your unique identity clashes with global misinterpretation, and when the crowd that once screamed your name suddenly starts whispering about your downfall. Today, my friends, we are going to get into the real reasons why it feels like Tyla's career is already flopping. Tyla's breakout single Water was a global phenomenon. According to Billboard, the track was an unstoppable force, hitting #1 on the US Afrobeat song chart and breaking into the top 10 on the Billboard Global 200. In the United States alone, it was certified 3 times platinum.
During the global splash of her single Water in 2023, she was projected to being the next huge international global success, following in the footsteps of notable names like Shakira and Rihanna, because they share similar come-up stories of leaving my homeland and making it big in the United States. And technically, Tyla did broke through and quote-unquote made it in the US. However, after her smash single eventually died down,
for a new artist, and especially for one from South Africa, this was a career-defining moment. In an interview with Billboard, Tyla expressed how surreal the success felt. She spoke with a lot of pride about what the achievement meant for a South African artist, born and raised in South Africa, with an authentic African song and an authentic African dance style. She was amazed that her sound could translate overseas without compromising its roots. But what she couldn't have predicted was that her music would translate with so much ease, while her personality, her commentary, and her public identity would not. While the song caught fire, the artist behind it slowly became a question mark. Her interviews started circulating for all the wrong reasons, and the confident, carefree image she once projected began to crack under the intense scrutiny. The first major controversy came in December 2023.
The singer's career trajectory became shaky. Because, oh no, she hasn't had another follow-up single that matched or surpassed the success of Water. Now, if you don't know Water, you haven't heard it before, here's a video of Blac Chyna's mom saying the lyrics while being annoyed.
According to reports from the BBC, Tyla inadvertently created a culture war when an old TikTok video of hers resurfaced. In the video, she was seen with her hair in Bantu knots and wearing a traditional beaded necklace, with the words, "I'm a colored South African," proudly displayed on the screen. It was that word, colored, that caused a huge backlash among Black Americans. In South Africa, colored is a formal racial classification, and for many, a proud cultural identity that was born from a complex mix of colonialism and apartheid. According to the BBC and Rolling Stone UK, Tyla identifies as having Zulu, Indian, Mauritian, and Irish roots. So in her mind, she wasn't rejecting Blackness, she was simply presenting her own specific South African experience. But Black Americans weren't having it. In the US, the word colored is drenched in the trauma of the Jim Crow era. It brings up images of whites-only signs and segregated drinking fountains. Psychological studies on racial trauma show how certain language can reactivate that generational pain. So, while Tyla was trying to represent her cultural nuance, many in the US heard a slur. The reaction on social media was brutal. In April 2024, Tyla finally spoke to Cosmopolitan about the controversy. She said she was glad people were having a conversation around race and identity and learning that Africa is more than just black and white. She added, "I just grew up as a South African knowing myself as colored."
She's a mean girl, and the infamous industry plant title that has been attached to her image since her inception as the newest from the continent of Africa that will take the world by storm. Since that video, the microscope of scrutiny, online cancellations, along with penetrating bombastic side eyes has only intensified. I don't know about you, but it appears to be Tyla's music is very much the last thing on the general public's mind.
I'm also mixed race. I'm also black. Cool. But fans weren't looking for a philosophy lesson, they were looking for clarity. There's a psychological theory called cognitive dissonance, which says that people get uncomfortable when they can't make sense of something. Tyla's explanation didn't bridge the gap between her intentions and her audience's interpretation. It deepened it. Her identity felt like a puzzle no one asked to solve. She wanted to start a conversation, but to many, it felt like a cop-out. Then came the infamous June 2024 Breakfast Club interview. Charlemagne the God lobbed her a softball question by asking her to explain the whole colored person fiasco. Tyla sat there with her mouth completely shut during the entire exchange. Of course, the incident went viral, and Tyla responded in the only way she seemed to know how, on X of all places. She wrote that she had never denied being black and reminded people that race is regional. In the US, she's black. In South Africa, she's colored. She closed her statement by saying, "I'm both colored and a black woman." She also wrote that she didn't expect to be identified as colored by people who didn't feel comfortable with it. For many, that was the final straw. Instead of softening hearts, it made people feel like she was doubling down. Then, at the 2024 MTV VMA show, Tyla won the award for Best Afrobeat Song for Water. This should have been a happy time, right? Wrong. Tyla managed to spark yet another massive controversy. In other words, she wanted Lil Nas X to hold her award for her. People were outraged and wanted to know who Tyla thought she was, saying she couldn't even hold her own award. Afterward, Tyla took to X to write, "Y'all make everything weird."
There's no doubt she has fans, but her fan base isn't that large where she can rely solely on her base in the same capacity when compared to Nicki Minaj's cult known as the Barbs, or Beyonce's coven that is the Beehive.
But still, people couldn't let it go. Some guys were saying she was acting like the trophy was beneath her, both physically and metaphorically. Almost a year later, Tyla defended herself to British Vogue magazine. She said Lil Nas X was her friend, and she wanted his help because the award was very heavy. What a weak-ass excuse. Honey, I bet you I could hold up an award presented to me, baby. If it took both hands, baby, if I had to wrap it up under my arm like a potato sack, I'm going to hold my award, honey. Then in September 2024, Tyla hit the stage with Usher and they danced to Water. However, when Usher got a little too close, Tyla pivoted and moved away. And once again, she received a ton of backlash. The body language was subtle, but the internet caught it. People called her disrespectful, saying she didn't understand the assignment. Dancing with Usher was a cosign, and Tyla acted like it was a chore. This is why the question of whether Tyla is an industry plant has been quietly floating through timelines and group chats for months now. On the surface, she checks every box of what the music industry loves to manufacture: stunning visuals, a trend-driven sound, major label backing, and a carefully curated brand that feels more commercial than personal. But when you peel back the glossy layers, the idea of Tyla being an industry plant starts to feel less like a conspiracy theory and more like a plausible strategy. Let's start with her entrance onto the scene. She didn't organically rise through the ranks of South Africa's local music circuit, gaining traction with raw performances and building a cult following over time. She was introduced to the world with slick production, perfect lighting, and global distribution. From the jump, everything felt ready-made. Water exploded out of nowhere, bolstered by viral choreography and aggressive playlisting. The song had all the markers of a hit, but lacked the organic journey typically found in breakout tracks. There were no basement shows, no mixtape grind, no visible hustle, just a beautiful girl with a catchy song who suddenly had the full weight of a major label machine behind her.
The point I'm making is the general public has control over Tyla's career, for now at least. Her fanbase is way too small to keep her afloat or to drown out the negativity that surrounds her. Again, this is based on her US reception, and the US audience for the most part can't stand her ass right now.
Her debut album only sold 24,000 copies in its first week. And yet, the powers that be thought it was a good idea for Tyla to go on a tour. But 2 weeks before the tour was scheduled to start, the European leg was postponed and the North American leg was cancelled, with the official reason being an injury Tyla was dealing with. In other words, what, nobody buying them damn tickets? That's what you're saying? I believe that's what you're saying. My friends and I were talking about it, and who's going to see Tyla on tour? Nobody. Then there's the rollout. Tyla's visuals have been immaculate. Her styling, music video concepts, and brand partnerships seem more fitting for a pop star in her 3rd album cycle, not someone still proving themselves. Everything is strategic. She's constantly referred to as a global sensation, which is a term that would probably be used to describe an entertainer like Beyoncé, not Tyla. Whether she's an industry plant or not, doesn't mean she's not talented. However, until she delivers depth beyond the branding, the industry plant label will remain. In July 2025, Tyla found herself in the middle of some more mess when 2 producers sued her over royalties and credits for her song Water. They alleged that they were cut out of what they were rightfully owed and claimed the situation had damaged not only their income, but also their professional reputations. As of this video, the case is still pending. She has released 4 songs in 2025, and only one of them, her song Dynamite with Wizkid, made the US charts. So it's pretty clear that Americans are sick of Tyla and her music. Because at the end of the day, audiences can spot manufactured hype from a mile away. The novelty has worn off, and what's left is an artist still trying to figure out who she is beyond viral moments and aesthetic-heavy branding. While international fans may still be rooting for her, the US market doesn't have the patience for surface-level artistry, especially not in an industry already saturated with more dynamic, better-developed performers. Listeners want growth, grit, and a narrative they can invest in, and when the music doesn't evolve, neither does the fan base. Her team can keep forcing collaborations, rolling out glossy visuals, and leaning on TikTok trends, but if there's no substance behind the strategy, it all eventually falls flat. Peace out, Seshers!